I've been getting a lot of comments lately talking about the max level in early access and also the max level cap of Baldur's Gate 3's full release. It seems like many people are a little behind in information, so I'm going to use this video to clear some things up and also talk about what we should realistically expect given the information that we have at this point of the game's development. For more Baldur's Gate 3 information, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Links to my Twitter and my Discord server will be below. We just hit 2,000 members. Woohoo! Let's jump right in. I'll start off this video with the hot topic, and that is the max level of the full game. So back in March of 2020, Larian held a Reddit AMA where their lead systems designer Nick Pachinian said that they are planning on covering levels 1 to 10 in the game's full release. So that was that at this time. Those of you who are not familiar with D&D 5th edition, max level is 20. So this brought up a mixture of emotions from the crowd, as some screamed at Larian that it needs to be 20 or they're not playing this garbage game, while others had a more intellectual response and talked about how certain levels above 10 may actually offer a much better overall experience. And then there's others who didn't really care because they trust Larian to make an enjoyable experience regardless of a level cap. Before we get deeper into this, let me just remind everyone that Baldur's Gate 1, despite being based on a different D&D edition, brought players to what would be around a level 8 to 10 level cap. And also most D&D 5th edition campaigns, which is basically what Baldur's Gate 3 is in video game form, end between the levels of 10 to 15, and usually for very good reasons. In general, though, it seems like most, including myself, were in favor of Larian going at least a little higher than 10, as it does bring with it a ton of other cool class features and spells, and stopping at 10 could feel a little lackluster with these 5th edition classes. 6 months later, in September of 2020, in the Dropped Frames interview with Sven Vinka, he said this.
Level 20, that's like the godlike.
You're God, yeah.
And that makes it the environment that we would have to... Yeah, I understand that.
That's a DLC where you're fighting 20 dragons at once, 20 red.
Just wish spells left and right.
I know. It's so no, but what I can tell you is that the level cap that we originally announced is going to be increased, however. So one of the things that came out of our playtests is that we needed to accelerate the curve because it's D&D leveling is very slow, and we...
So yeah, level 10 is no longer the max level cap. A lot of people still seem to think that it is. But we also do not know what the new cap will actually be, and I'll speculate on that in just a bit. One thing that we can be fairly certain of, though, is that we will not be getting to level 20. As some of you may have heard Sven say, when you're level 20, you're basically in God mode, which, as fun as that does sound, it doesn't necessarily fit many plot lines. D&D campaigns where players are in the upper tier of 17 to 20 can be some of the hardest campaigns to run because the players are so insanely powerful that even the sky is no longer the limit. Balance can become a really big issue. Now, of course, that can still be insanely fun, and it can be done right, as demonstrated in some other video games and many D&D campaigns. But one single campaign going that high can also lose a feeling of it being grounded in a way, and then it can become what feels like a completely new game. Many times for these higher level campaigns, the setting itself actually has to completely change to try to account for the player's newfound power. The city of Baldur's Gate would kind of be an ant on the ground that you could squish. So personally, I don't want Baldur's Gate 3 to be level 20, at least initially. I would like to experience a game where the full story and our character's development still has some feeling of being grounded, while at the same time we may actually still get to experience what many may consider to be close to demigod powers. Take into account how many of the most successful medieval fantasy type movies, shows, and books tend to be. They tend to be about characters that are much less in their power status than straight up gods. Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, to name a few. Just imagine adding Superman to the Fellowship of the Ring. It wouldn't be quite the story now, would it? As far as what will the new max level cap actually be, I would say that many of us, from what I can see, are still not expecting it to go much, much higher than level 10, and this is for reasons that we talked about earlier. But also, if Larian's initial plan was 10, and their development scope revolved around that idea, Going to, say, level 16 plus would be like developing another game on a whim, which just doesn't seem reasonable. If I had to take a guess myself, I'm going to say level 12 may be the best bet here, but I could be wrong. Level 13 would be really awesome, but it brings with it level 7 spells and also a host of new class features, which may be a tad beyond the scope of this game. The transition from 12 to 13 will of course add a ton of development time and testing needed to this project, so I think 12 would still be reasonable and grounded for the current plotline. We will get access to level 5 spells at level 11, and therefore get to experience those powerful spells for 2 levels before the end of the game. At level 12, we also get an ability score increase, or a choice of feats, which would be fairly easy to implement and give us a slight boost in power for the final step of our journey. I'll also mention that level 12 leaves a lot of room for a reasonable expansion. Now, I could be wrong, and I probably am, and maybe we do make the jump even to level 15 where we get access to 8th level spells. But I do just think that's a little bit too much for Larian to add onto a game that was initially planned to be level 10. If Act 1 is 4 to 5 levels, you could say that Act 2 will be up to 10 and then Act 3 will be level 15, but we have to keep in mind that the higher level that you get, the more experience it requires to actually level up. Definitely let me know what you guys think about max level for the full release down below in the comments. Moving on to Early Access. Baldur's Gate 3's Early Access max level has been level 4 ever since the day it launched back in October of 2020. Many of us have assumed that level 4 will remain to be the level cap until the game's full release, especially considering that Larian does not intend on giving us Act 2 or 3 during the Early Access stages. But to our surprise, in the panel from Hell 3, which took place in July of this year, Sven mentioned that we may actually see the level cap raised to 5 if we keep asking for it, or something along those lines. I don't think Sven would have even said this if Larian didn't have actual plans to test out level 5 with us sometime in the future. On a side note, I do also see a lot of comments asking about Act 2 and 3, and as of now, I would just put it out of your mind. Larian currently doesn't have plans on letting us play beyond Act 1, a decision that I am personally happy with. The full release of Baldur's Gate 3, in my opinion, should be where we get the majority of the content. If you're bored with Act 1, which is very understandable, just take a break and enjoy some other games. So would level 5 be a good idea for early access? I would actually say yes. Like I said, I personally don't want too much content revealed to me before the official release, but now that Larian has revealed to us that they're going higher than max level 10, I think I'm okay with seeing a few more spells in early access. With level 5, spellcasters get access to level 3 spells, the most notable perhaps being Fireball. Other spells that we may see include Dispel Magic, Counterspell, perhaps Animate Dead, and maybe, just maybe, we'll learn to speak with plants. That photosynthesis stuff, man, that ain't no walk in the park, you know? Oh great, here comes Timmy the tiger.
You talking to plants again, bro?
I'm a druid, Tim. You know this.
You're one weird dude.
I'm not weird, it's a spell that I get.
Hey, I'm trying to sleep. Keep it down, tree hugger.
You're the one hugging trees all day. Oh, sometimes I wish I was a paladin. For many of the more martial-based classes like the fighter and ranger, level 5 brings with it extra attack. Extra attack allows you to make one additional attack when you use the attack action. So new powerful spells and extra attack, this is a fairly big jump in power. Some of you at this point with all of your early access experience may not find the game to be that challenging anymore. And with this newfound power, it will of course be even easier. But if you are one of those players, I would look at it more as a way to help test this pretty significant jump in power, and if Larian can get it right, it will in turn make for a better overall game. Level 5 is somewhat of a foundational point that needs to be implemented correctly. If you feel like you're getting bored with the challenge of early access, one thing that you can do is simply approach combat encounters in a less advantageous way for the time being, such as fighting the Githyanki patrol on the ground as opposed to from the bridge. I would fathom a guess though and say that the majority of players, even ones with experience, can still find early access to be challenging, and a boost to level 5 will help more players enjoy their experience than it will hurt players. You also have to consider that you still have to get through a lot of the content before you can reach level 5, so level 5 I think will mostly be used in the Underdark, which is more towards the end point of early access. One other thing to keep in mind regarding the game's difficulty, don't forget that we currently don't have difficulty levels to choose from, which will be present in the game's official launch, perhaps even later on in early access. So all in all, it seems likely that we will see level 5 in early access at some point, and we know that level 10 is no longer the max level cap for the game's official release. Now, a lot of people have different opinions on what they think is best, which is awesome, so please share your thoughts below in the comments. Just remember, if you're a rather rude individual who happens to think that your opinion is fact, not only does it tell everyone where you currently are at in your life, but your comment will also not be taken seriously, especially by myself. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate the support. I will be streaming the upcoming Panel from Hell. We don't have a date for it just yet, right here on this YouTube channel. So when that goes live, make sure to stop over here. I'd love to have you come hang out with everybody around here as opposed to going to some of the bigger media channels. And yeah, let's keep the Baldur's Gate 3 grind going, and I'll see you guys in the next one.